So in today's video, I'm going to show you a workflow that you can set up that will streamline the process of creating slide decks for tutorials or for presentations if you are doing a course. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hello friends, welcome back. So first things first, I wanted to say thank you to everyone who showed up to my talk at the No-code conference. Because the actual talk was recorded, I was able to keep an eye on what was going on in the chat, and I recognized a whole bunch of people who have been leaving comments on my YouTube videos ever since I started. So I just wanted to say that I appreciate it very, very much. So in today's video, I want to show you a very simple workflow that I set up inside of Integromat for a little course that I'm working on for the Unicorn Factory. One of the things that I wanted to do in 2022 is, besides helping freelancers get more work, is actually showing them how they can close more deals, how they can find clients outside the Unicorn Factory. And the way that I'm going to do that is by creating what I'm calling the Freelancer Academy that will have a whole bunch of different tutorials. Next year, I'm also going to work on a few additional little tutorials or online courses or content library type things. I'm going to be doing one with Aaron from Automate All the Things. There'll be more about that in the future. And I'm also going to be rejigging my no-code course on how to build online marketplaces. So I figured that I may as well look into how I can streamline some of the processes that I go through when I'm going through the content creation process, when I create the slides that I use inside of my tutorials. And one of the workflows that I came up with was a workflow that automatically creates a Google slide for me for a particular tutorial, so that I don't have to manually create it. I don't have to manually style it all. And if you are someone who's ever thought about maybe creating an online course, then this might be something that you can rebuild yourself. Now, before we get into it, do me a quick little favor, smash subscribe, smash like, helps the channel out a lot, and I'll be very, very happy. But with all that being said, let's switch into screen recording mode where I can show you what I've done. Okay, so first things first, here's a little bit of an overview. I started off with an Airtable base where I can add my modules, which is kind of the overarching theme of the tutorials. And then I also have a little table with all of the individual lessons that sit with inside those modules. Now, the process that I go through when I create these things is, first of all, I come up with ideas. I do a little bit of research and figure out what information does someone need at a real high level. I don't even go into detail about it all. And then from there, I basically come up with a little overview of the types of things that I need to talk about, what I want to touch on, all those types of things. Now, as soon as I've gone over all of that, what I can do is create an outline, which will be the main talking points in the presentation. So long story short, here's an overview of what this base looks like. Obviously, I can still make changes to it and all of that type of stuff. But what I will then need to do is to actually create Google Slides for each and every one of these presentations. So this is a classic example of how you can use no-code tools to streamline the processes that you go through. Now, obviously, one way that you can do it is to just jump in here and then just create a new Google slide and then copy and paste things over. But there's just a lot more efficient ways to do it. And luckily, no-code tools allows us to set these types of workflows up. So what I did was I went in here and I created a template for all of my presentations. So you can see here, I've got a title page and I've got an overview page. And so the way that you can do that is you can actually jump into the slide section, click on edit theme, and then you can just go through the process of setting up your layouts. You can add your colors. So you can just jump in here. On the side, you'll have a whole bunch of different accent colors, text and background colors. And then you can just go through the process of making it fit your particular brand and style. Now, I know that every single one of my presentations, at the very least, is going to have a main title page. So this page here, and it will also have an outline with the different talking points that will be covered in this video today. Now, obviously, if I wanted to add more slides, I can do that by just simply clicking on the plus button and adding new sections. But what I wanted to do is, because I know that all of these pages will be inside of my presentation, what I wanted to do is use this particular template to dynamically populate values that sit inside of my Airtable base so that I can then automatically create the starting point of my slides. So the way that you can do that inside of Google Slides is actually add variables by adding these two squirrely brackets to them. And you can see here, I've got one for the title, and I also have one for the module. And then on the next page, I have one for the outline. Now, inside of my Airtable base, I have the title slides. So you've got part one, what does a freelancer do? And then I also have the outline, okay? And so the outline basically covers the sections or the things that I'll be talking about in that particular presentation. And so now what I can do is I can use this information here, and I can send that information to a new Google slide that gets created when I use a tool like Zapier or Integromat. So the workflow that I'm using for this is Integromat. I've started doing a lot more Integromat. I actually just feel like it gives you a lot more flexibility with things, especially when you're setting up slightly more complex workflows. And so you can use Zapier for this. I'm using Integromat for it. And yeah, so the way that this workflow works is that the actual workflow is triggered by a webhook. So if we jump back into my Airtable base, you can see that there's a button here called Create Slides. Now the Create Slides button, what that does is as soon as I click it, it fires a webhook that then triggers all of the different automations. So first of all, it retrieves the information of the record for which I clicked Create Slides. And then once I have retrieved that record, what it does is it creates a presentation using my Freelancer Academy presentation template, and it will then dynamically populate the variables. So we've got the outline variable, we've got the title variable, and we've got the module variable by just me simply jumping in here and mapping those values from step 2 when it retrieves that record into the Integromat step. And once that is done, I also update my Airtable base with a link to that Google slide. So the way that this looks in practice is that I'll come in here and I will do my outline. So let's say, for example, 1, reason 1, 2, reason 2. And then as soon as I have done that, all I need to do now is click on Create Slides. The webhook will fire, and you'll know that it worked when it says accepted up here. And then if I jump back into my Airtable base, you'll see that it automatically created a link to the slides. Now, if I click into it, you can see that it automatically created the title, it automatically created the module, and it also added the outline that I added to Airtable to this presentation. And so this is kind of like the starting point for this workflow for me. There are going to be like a whole bunch of extra components that will come into play. For example, I also have to record it. I'll have to add some B-roll to the recording. I'm going to have to edit things. But this is something that if I didn't automate it would take me a whole bunch longer than if I just set up a real simple, easy to use workflow like that. And so in a nutshell, that is just a real simple workflow that you can use with no-code tools to really streamline some of the processes that you'd have to do in your day-to-day business. So this is an example of how you can use no-code to work smarter, and it doesn't have to be a job board or a marketplace. So hopefully you found this valuable. If you did, please let me know. If you want to learn more about that process that I go through when I create courses, let me know in the comments down below. Other than that, thank you so much for sticking around for the entire video, and I'll see you back here for the next one.